of the KNBR fantasy draft. I have Malik Neighbors, Tet McMillan, Omarion Hampton, Ja'Cory Krosky, Merritt, Tyler Warren, Jackson Smith, and the Jigba. I'm going all rookies. I'm basically an all-rookie outfit at this juncture.
A lot of upside.
Except for the Seattle receiver. We need help. Matt Barrows, help us. And he's with us on the Yuma guest line. Matty, how are you?
I'm good. I went rookie heavy too in my draft, Larry. I got Omarion Hampton as well, thinking that he's in a good spot down there with Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers.
If you had to go with a fantasy guy on the Niners, and it wasn't CMC, who would you go with? You want Purdy? You want DeMarcus? You want Kittle? You want Jake Moody? Should I go Jake Moody with my next pick?
Last pick in the draft.
I want Kittle, and then I would take a flyer on Ricky Pearsall, with him possibly having a breakout season. I don't know what round that is, but maybe before he's supposed to go on your Yahoo or whatever you use for your fantasy football site.
Yes, I'm very Yahoo friendly. Thank you. Anti-ESPN, more pro Yahoo.
Yeah, me too.
There you go.
Don't tell Nick Wagoner.
Pearsall, I thought, has looked really good, not just preseason games, but the one game that he played. But practice, he has developed a relationship with Brock Purdy. How are you expecting him to come out of the gates, not just from a health standpoint, but also the fact that he's been really Brock Purdy's only healthy, steady receiver that he's seen in practice over the last, call it, month?
Yeah, I think that chemistry is really sharp. It dates back to early off-season. We're talking February and March when Pearsall went with Purdy to Florida, and then they threw together in Arizona. They're both from Arizona. So I think that has gotten really good, and I think the fact that we saw Juwan Jennings on Monday bodes well for the 49ers as a whole and for Ricky Pearsall, because now there's another established wide receiver out there, and defenses won't be able to concentrate on just taking away Ricky Pearsall. So, that's the question with Pearsall. I think the defensive game plan is going to be get your hands on Pearsall, reroute him, try to take away that timing. That's the game plan for against the 49ers usually, but Ayuk is so good at making that obsolete or not allowing defensive backs to get a hand on him. And his timing is so precise. And so the question is, can Ricky Pearsall duplicate that early in the season?
It's going to be a very interesting year for the 49ers, but to me, how they start is going to matter so much. If they get off to a hot start, I think this could be an epic year. What do you see this week? Seattle's 3-6 last year at home, 7-1 on the road. For whatever reason, they've become a better road team. They beat the Niners on the road, and yet Purdy's 3-0 up there, and he's turned it into his own personal playground. What kind of game do you expect to see Sunday from Niners Seahawks?
I think that the Seahawks ran the ball, or their rushing attempts was the fourth fewest in the league last year. And I can guarantee you they're trying to switch that around, make it more even. They've got, Clint Kubiak is their offensive coordinator. That's very much part of the Shanahan coaching tree. So the Seahawks will want that balance. And that's going to help out Sam Darnold, et cetera, et cetera. So I would expect the Seahawks to test that 49ers run defense, which wasn't very good last year, and there are lots of reasons for that. But, the interior of that line, I think, is a question mark. My guess for, the opening lineup, the starting lineup in Seattle is Jordan Elliott and Kalia Davis at defensive tackle. Jordan Elliott did not have a starring role, shall we say, last year as a run defender. So, and Kalia Davis is really unproven at this point. So it's a question mark. It's a question mark how quickly the rookies, Alfred Collins, C.J. West, and then the newcomer Jordan Jefferson can sort of rise to the occasion. But I expect the Seahawks to test them out in that regard early and often in week one.
How much do you put into the fact that the 49ers defense really didn't play together as a unit in a game in those first 3 games because of the injuries and players sitting out? Are they going to be ready to go week one? I know Saleh obviously has them together, practicing well, but it's still going to take some time to figure out the schemes and the timing and where everybody needs to be at the right time. How do you see this defense coming together over the next few days, and are they going to be ready week one?
Yeah, I think that's a year-long theme for them because they're going to be relying on so many rookies. Michael Williams probably will start and get a lot of snaps if what I said turns out to be true, and the Seahawks do a lot of running. And then that's sort of what I'm curious about. How much do C.J. West and Alfred Collins get into this game? I don't think that Jordan Jefferson, he's the guy that they picked up off of waivers last week, will be active for this game. He might be too new to the system at this point. But, yeah, I mean, that cohesion is going to be a big deal. I will say, though, that, Nick Bosa has looked very good throughout the spring and summer. No one is worried about him. And then the other sort of under kind of hyped storyline is Bryce Huff. And he'd be on the field in passing situations. And he's one of the very few 49ers, and certainly one of the few defensive linemen who have been on hand throughout the spring and the summer. So I would expect him to be up to speed and very well versed with his timing, and I would think that might be a strength to begin the season.
Matt, this is not about my I'm not trying to turn this whole show into my my personal fantasy draft, but what kind of fantasy player do you think Brian Robinson's going to be?
I think that Larry's Fantasies would be a really great segment on KNBR. Well, I'm going to pass that up the food chain just to test it out. But I mean,
is Brian Robinson going to be worthy of drafting? I need to know, and I need to know in the next 12 seconds.
I drafted him in my league. We have a lot of slots, so there's. I could
do
play
I want
around
him or not? Excuse me. Have I lost my composure? I'm sorry if I've lost my composure. But I need to know, do I want him on my team or not?
Well, if you don't think that Christian McCaffrey is going to make it through a full season, yeah, you want him on your team. If McCaffrey gets hurt, Brian Robinson is a starting running back in this league on a team that likes to run the ball, and that should be good at running the ball. I think that's another underplayed theme is that, we sort of made fun of the fact that the 49ers' big free agent signing was Luke Farrell, a blocking tight end. But I think that, that factors into Christian McCaffrey and whoever is in the backfield. I think they'll be a better running team this year. I think they're going to run a lot more 2 tight end sets than they did last year. I think they were like something 7.5% of their offensive snaps were 2 tight end. That's low for a Shanahan team. But with Farrell and Kittle, I would expect it to be at least double that, 15%, 20%. So, more running, more wide zone, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's going to be something that the 49ers lean on more so this year than last year.
Do you think the addition of Robinson gives Shanahan the ability to maybe put in that 2 running back set and use McCaffrey a little bit more in the passing game potentially? If you throw Juszczyk and the 2 tailbacks out there with, obviously they have some good blocking tight ends, I could see that creating some problems for defensive coordinators. How do you prepare for that?
Yeah, if you've got McCaffrey and Robinson in the backfield, you're going to see a lot of linebackers on the other side. And all you'd need to do is put McCaffrey in motion out of the backfield, and all of a sudden he's in the slot, and all of a sudden there's no nickel cornerback out there, and he's going up against a slow-footed linebacker, and that's a mismatch. And Brock Purdy will take advantage of that all day. the prospect of Robinson, Juszczyk, and McCaffrey, though, I don't know about that. So my point is that if you have Robinson back there, then maybe you don't have Juszczyk back there.
Yeah.
So you're taking out the best fullback in the league to put in another tailback, and they might do that. I'm just saying that there's always sort of a downside to every maneuver that you make.
Matty, Kendrick Bourne worked out for the Niners yesterday, or at least was there. I don't know if he worked out. A lot of people think he worked out. But he did leave without a contract, and I thought maybe they had no interest. But I think Mayoko might have reported that the Niners did make him some form of an offer. But obviously it wasn't to his liking because he got on a bird and flew out to Washington today. What do you think? Do you think they made him a minimal offer? Do you think they wanted Bourne only if JJ somehow continued his holdout yesterday? Are they related? Are they not related? Where do you think Bourne ultimately winds up?
Well, yeah, if Juwan Jennings didn't practice this week and wasn't going to be playing against Seattle, I think Bourne would have been in demand more. I would imagine that the contracts he's being offered are laden with incentives, and I think that Bourne wants to kind of figure out where he'd fit in the pecking order at these two spots. I mean, the Commanders have Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel at wide receiver, and then I think there's a rookie that looks good as their number 3, but then it's sort of up in the air. So they're light in terms of depth at that position. The 49ers obviously are light in terms of depth to start the season, but they might not be at, week 6, mid-season. Ayuk is back. Robinson is back. Jordan Watkins is back. Maybe even Jacob Cowling is back. So I think it's a matter of Kendrick Bourne just trying to figure out, what his offers are and what are the prospects of him playing a lot this season. It could be, he joins the 49ers. He plays a lot in weeks 1 through 3, and all of a sudden he's fighting for snaps in weeks, 4 through 17. I think that's all kind of part of the calculus for him right now.
Part of the back to the defensive side, part of that defensive front for the 49ers is rotating guys through. And you talked about Jordan Jefferson and Bryce Huff. Is there any concern about Alfred Collins? Because he was one of the few guys that we saw consistently playing in the preseason, did not log a lot of numbers. Is there any concern about his ability to step in that first game and play and not maybe necessarily play at a high level, but be productive?
Yeah, I think that if you're talking about defensive linemen, and like I said, I don't think that Jefferson is going to play in week 1, and that's just because he's new, and Robert Saleh said the other day that he was in a totally different system with the Jaguars, so he's a little bit behind the curve. But of the guys who you expect to be in uniform early in the season, yeah, Alfred Collins is absolutely the one that you're most concerned about because he was behind the curve for most of the summer. I will say that he's picked it up, as he's gone along. He's better now than he was in late July, and that'll show up on the field. But I don't think he's there yet, and I would expect him to have the fewest amount of snaps of any of those guys at the end of the day. And unless there's an injury or something like that. But, he's sort of a microcosm of this defense as a whole. How quickly can Alfred Collins mature and start looking like a non-rookie? Because if it's fast, then that bodes well for this team. And the 49ers are expecting that, and they're expecting that as a unit as the year goes on. This should be a better defense in weeks 9 through 17 than it was the first half of the season. And that corresponds with an easier schedule, more home games, not a lot of real juggernauts on the roster in the second half of the year. So this should be a team that catches fire at some point in the middle of the season. And to do that, I think that they need those rookies and certainly the second-year players to kind of take hold and and play like seasoned veterans.
One of my stories and things to look at in the preseason was Jake Moody. And how does he respond from a season where I think it was a lot of disappointment all the way around? He had a pretty good preseason. Comes off the 59-yarder game winner in week 2 and then misses the PAT, which everybody's, oh, man, he had all this momentum. What are you looking for from him early in the season? Larry and I talked about it in one of the games. He's got to have a streak. Make 7, 8, 9 kicks in a row. Get all the pressure off yourself. And then there's going to be some misses. If he comes out in the first couple of weeks and is not sharp, is there any concern about that position? Do they make moves in the first maybe 3-4 games if he does not get off to a good start?
Yeah, I think they could, especially if it's consequential. If he goes something like, 3 of 4, 3 of 5 in Seattle, but one of the misses is, a potential game winner at the end of the game, that's a big deal. And Greg Joseph, a guy that they, said was going to compete with Moody during the summer and didn't really end up doing that. I believe that he's still available, and I would imagine he's the first call that they make. So they have a hotline open to him, I'm sure. And if there is a struggle early, that could be the case. I don't see how you can expect anything beyond what we've been seeing with him, which is a lot of really strong kicks, but some baffling ones as well. And I think that's probably going to continue during the season, and I agree with the 49ers in this. I think that Jake Moody is going to be a really strong kicker in this league, but all of these young kickers go through this. I mean, just about every one of them gets bloodied up at some point early in their career before they kind of develop the routine, the thick skin, all that stuff. The issue with Jake Moody is that they drafted him early, and there was a lot of scrutiny on him, and there continues to be a lot of scrutiny on him. So that's what submarines some of these young kickers, especially the ones that are taken early. That it comes with a microscope that it's already a tough job. It's already a really tough job for a young kicker. And when you draft them early, you're just adding another layer to that challenge.
Matty, great article, I thought, in ESPN by our good friend Matt Miller, who I think does a really good job. He's a Niner fan, and he went with his under-the-radar rookies. And interestingly enough, he went with Upton Stout as the Niners under-the-radar rookies and rookie. And I don't really think he's under the radar. I think he's probably been the best performing rookie all summer. I would say if I was going under-the-radar rookie, I would go Jordan Watkins. But I'll throw it to you. Not just rookie-wise. Give me an under-the-radar player that we're not talking a whole lot about here in the lead up to the season. But, man, by the end of the year, we will be talking about this player quite a bit. I think it's going to be Jordan Watkins. Who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, if it's rookies, I agree with you with Jordan Watkins. You and I have been watching too many of the same practices, so we're just going to echo each other. But I mentioned him earlier. Bryce Huff has the potential to be somebody we're talking about a lot at the end of the season because of what I described. I mean, he's been out there. This defense is perfectly set up for him. He's been in the solid system before. He's got a really good pass rusher opposite him. I don't think that 10 sacks is out of the realm of possibility for him. He's going to get a lot of pass rush snaps. I mean, who else are they going to have in there? Like I said, Mikael Williams is more of a base down guy. He'll rush from the inside. They're not going to put Yetur Gross-Matos out there on obvious passing downs. Sam O didn't really look good in that capacity last year. Robert Beal really hasn't done that for this team. It's Bryce Huff who's going to get a lot of kind of sack opportunities in the system.
As you're looking at the NFC West, and Larry and I have kicked it around a little bit this morning, who's maybe if you're looking at stacking those teams, who's your top contender for the 49ers?
I think it's the Rams, and I know that's what everybody thinks, but they've got the veteran quarterback. and they made some big moves. The Rams have done what the 49ers are trying to do, which is this sort of on-the-fly rebuild, where you say goodbye to some very prominent players, Aaron Donald being paramount there, but you draft well, and the 49ers the Rams have done that, especially along the defensive line. I think that they're really good there. They brought in Devontae Adams to go with Puka Nacua. They've got a really good sort of underappreciated running back in Kyron Williams. I just think that they're kind of strong from top to bottom. It all hinges on Stafford staying healthy, and that's a big question mark. But if he is, that's going to be a tough out for the 49ers.
Matty, always great to rap with you. We hold you in high regard. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you down there in the next couple of days, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys. Talk to you soon.
Matt Barrows from The Athletic, and he's fantastic. This guy, to me, now that I'm down there every day and I get a chance to see the way the media kind of works, and, I've got great respect for Matt because he's not a homer. He asks tough questions. He goes into the locker room and goes locker to locker and will talk to dudes and get real stories. And he's just outstanding. He's been on the beat for a number of years.